No, I had a very good question asked of me, which is how do you spot pre-positioning? Someone asked and said, look, if we see, the pound in an uptrend, is that an example of pre-positioning? Or if you see a currency in a uptrend on the 4-hour chart or the 1-hour chart, is that evidence of pre-positioning? Now, pre-positioning is much more complicated than that. Um, and it can be quite complicated to put all the different factors together to know whether pre-positioning has taken place. You want to look at a combination of things, including market expectations, significant upcoming data points, the commitment for traders report, if there's been serious interest rate differential changes, and what the current projections are for upcoming data points. So let's just take an example. So let's look at the upcoming incoming data. Can we see any data points that you possibly might see a bit of pre-positioning for? Okay, you've got inflation, Eurozone inflation data, cause quite similar, headlines quite similar. Not necessarily going to get pre-positioning for this. PCE data, see that's in line with prior, slightly higher than the prior, unlikely to get pre-positioning for that. What you're looking for, the pre-positioning, you're looking sort of a buy the rumor, sell the fact response. So let's look at non-farm payrolls. Will we get any pre-positioning with that? Yeah, there's a drop from prior of 172, but it's not a massive alteration or change. So, for instance, in the current market sentiment, there's nothing that I can see in the data that you would necessarily get pre-positioning before. Um, the other way of looking at pre-positioning is you can look at the commitment for traders report, and you can see any adjustment in the COT report in terms of whether longs have been added or increased. So sometimes, if you suddenly see a big position, now longs increased here for the COT report for the pound, you might be confused about that. Well, the COT report is released on Friday and it's from the prior Tuesday data. We've got that big PMI miss last week on the Wednesday, so it's not reflected. So it's very unlikely that longs are going to be as high as they are there. Shorts increased there in the yen. So is there anything there? Not particularly. You go through and you're looking for any situation where you're getting a big shift in the commitment for traders report, and you can see already, it's quite hard to spot pre-positioning. But when you have like a very clear interest rate differential, so let's look at the RBNZ. So here we had a situation. No, let's look at the Bank of England. Here we had a situation where you had, terminal rate a week ago was over 6%. It's now 5.75%. So what you might start to see is a bit of positioning build in pound shorts, because you've got that big differential between the terminal rate from a week ago is now 25 basis points lower. You know that the pound is stretched to the long side. So, interest rates expected to still rise by 25 basis points, but there is now 4% chance there's no interest rate change. So that could tell you if there's any sort of very, very weak UK data coming up, you would look at that if it's significant UK data as a potential opportunity for positioning. So now, say you saw like a headline data point for the UK that was expected to be very, very weak, then you might see a bit of pre-positioning coming into the event. Now, it's hard to see it as simple as a move on the charts. It's not going to You're not going to look at that and say, aha, this is pre-positioning long. The best thing to look for is a clear data point that's really breaking with the normal expectation, and that's when you will see pre-positioning ahead of the event. Or say there's a shift in a central bank and they're coming up, they're about to have an interest rate meeting, and it's just recently changed that the central bank expect to hike interest rates. Then you're going to like to see pre-positioning build into the event, and then you're going to see that uptrend. But you don't see the uptrend first and then assume it's pre-positioning. It could just be flows. It could be a result of cross-currency moves. It could be just a normal sort of technical uptrend. It could just be the normal ebbs and flows of a market. But there's some ways to spot pre-positioning, and you've got to put these little pieces of the jigsaw together. There isn't a real hard and fast, easy answer.